Hello, here we go again. This is giving a little bit of instruction on how I draw my scroll work. Now, I've written here so you can see what I've written, but in any case, this is how I see a lot of engravers work. You see, this is just what I would call a monoline. It's just without any definition at all. It's just the same width all the way around, and it hasn't got any real feeling. Now, this one on this side here, as I've stated here, I put a dark line underneath here, not on top, because the light was coming down from the top here, you see. So that's the shadow. Now you can see the difference in this, even though this one hasn't got any shading inside here, it still looks rather three-dimensional in comparison to this one. So this is what I'm doing. I'm just showing you this way I do my scrolls. So I'm using my pencil like this. So as I said, the light's coming from the top here. So this is a darker part here. So when I was cutting, when I was an engraver, this is a part we used to put a little bit more depth in underneath, you see. This is where you cut with this teardrop type of cut. And so this is a line going around. Although it's like a ghost line, you can see it's gone through here, so I ignore that. And that was just a mark. Then we would darken that. If you want this band work like this, I always, not always, but this is one of my styles, use this round part here. A lot of engravers will use just a sharp piece like these, you see. But there I go again with the S shape, just to give it a little go. I'm drawing this upside down, not the way I would do it normally, but still, there we go. So I'm drawing this like that. See, it's still a mono line. So if I was to darken this underneath here, that would be my cut if I was using the engraver. And here again, you see, so it's becoming more three-dimensional. Then I would I'll tone this because this is more much easier for me to do. And this is what you do when it's in your vise, you see. You're turning your work around, and even if you're drawing, sometimes you would turn the work around to get the feeling of it, because it's growing up the ladder, you see. It's gradually growing. So the difference is how you can do this here. I made this come here. If I wanted to again, I could put a little stroke out here to make it just a little bit more interesting instead of just going around it. So I'll do another one here and another here, because it's going to go outside again. So now it's the darker piece, the finer piece over the top, and then another one there, darken that area. Then we're going to come around again here to finish it off. So here is this line. So I'm making a band inside this one. And it's coming around like this again, here. So you're just following it around, you see. That will finalize here. And so I tried to think what I could leave that as a shape like that. I could make another shape like this, or again I could ignore this bit of a line here, take that round again, see the something, and then bring it around here, and then it would form itself into this shape here like that. You can do this, and because it's got this here, this is where this needs a little bit more of a line like so. So it's gradually building up the shape, you see. So there we go, that comes in here like that. So we've got this fine here, we've got this darker here, and that's how it goes. Okay? Then we ask how we're going to shade this. So if I'm putting a little band down here, this is just giving the style. So we will shade here with the graver. Now, we don't black everything in, because people go under the microscope and they can see it, and it's all lovely. I wish we had had one of these when we were younger. But the problem is, underneath the microscope, you see all this beautiful work. You think, oh, that's good, and I'm showing how clever I am. But when you bring it out into daylight, into the natural viewing, it can look like a blob. So you don't overshade. It's better to leave out than put too much in. And I often see people, they put too much in and it confuses it. Sam does a superb work, but mainly it's under the Procreate, and it's superbly done. It's very difficult to shade like that unless you're a real professional and you've had lots of experience. So rather than do too much and not knowing what the result's going to be, leave it alone. But here you are. I'll just put a few little bits here to make this look as though there's shadows in here. And then we have this here. This is what they call a fluting. So this is what you need to make this like a flute, you see, around here. So we would shade this a bit here. It's only 2 or 3 strokes you need. You don't need any more. And here again, you bring it down here and there, maybe 1 or 2, and there. You see, so you don't necessarily need to put so much in. You try to be a bit clever. You've got this lovely graver that cuts well, and it's under the microscope and everything looks superb under there, but the eye in its natural vision, it won't. So it's best to leave it. Now you've got shadows here, so you've got this here, and there we get a little bit of shading here to throw this leaf out. When it's a gun engraving, like we did commercially, we didn't necessarily do it as though we were doing an illustration of light and shade. It was good, it was commercial, we just did. So and of course we had to do it with speed and at a price. But there you go here, this is where you go in, then you darken a bit there, take a bit here, and you're causing this fluting here, you see, and that's where sometimes you will get this, and you would get that there again. This is what you put the extras in. It's like a flute, see, like the keys in it, but that gives the impression of what the old masters used to do, give the impression of it curving around, you see, without too much shading. And there we go again, we're coming here, and because I say we want to, it's not always so natural, but you can put here, if it's too empty, you can just do a little bit around here to show that the leaf has got a little bit of shape to it. And here again, you can just put a few little lines down there. It's a lot of difference between being able to shade with a pencil, like you do if you're an artist, but when you rely on the graver, you're relying on cuts. You see these cuts here, and we ignore this bit of a line here, okay? So we would give a little bit here, and it's according. You can go right to the edge, but I don't often do that. See, so you do that, And then you've got this fluting here, so you can do this type of thing. So you've got that flute there, and then do a bit of shading here, and then a bit down here. So we don't, again, smother. Less is more, as the old saying goes. You see? And the same again with this here. Here we can put a few little bits in here, like so, and then take it down again. It can come off the back. So here you can put a line across here, so you've got another shadow here, which emphasizes this line here. So you can do this, but it's up to you, really. You have to think about how it's going to react. And there we go. So you put a little bit more shading because this is dark here. You see the light's coming down, forming a shadow. And now we have this, and we may put a little bit here, or you may turn it up. It's according to how you, and the size. Yes, it's the size of the scrolls too. Makes a lot of difference. If it's really large, you need to emphasize more shading. If it's small, you don't put too much in, you know. So there we go. So I'll take it here. So I'm forming the shape of the leaf. Now, in most leaves, you have a stem here, like this, you see. So that would be like a stem. But we're trying to show the shape as it goes across. And we don't need to leave a large blank area here. So that's what we'll do here. And, of course, with the graver, which you can't always do with a pencil, it will be very fine when it starts. Then it ends up with more pressure, and it becomes darker. So you will form a darkness, okay? And so we will find this. You can cross hatch here. You can do all these types of things within this area, okay? And there we are. So I'll leave you for now, but I hope I've given you a little bit of an insight into, yes, here we go. There's my problem. There we are, boys and girls. Well, all the best for now.